We sound like two groundhog fighting or something like that.
You recorded that in Mississippi?
Yeah.
How did you get down there?
Well, we were born and raised down there in Tennessee.
Tennessee's a long way. Yeah, actually, one end of Mississippi is pretty close to Tennessee.
Mississippi just crossed the river from Savannah, Tennessee.
Yeah. You grew up in Savannah, Tennessee.
Yeah. Yeah, we were born and raised Hardin County, Tennessee. Just, out in the country, but that's our hometown, Savannah, Tennessee.
You want that record? Yeah. It's up in the front seat here. Let's see if I can. Oh.
I kind of get woke up.
Now, on the, let me ask you, on the picture that you gave me, everybody plays the instruments they're holding, and that's the same instrumentation here. Gene Dykes on the fiddle, you on the banjo, and I forget the other two, but
Ray Barrier on the rhythm guitar, flat guitar.
Ray on the guitar, and Herman on the bass. On bass. How about in the trio? That's a trio number. Do you remember who sang which parts?
Ray sang lead, I sang tenor, Herman sang baritone. Gene don't sing.
Who wrote the song?
Huh?
Who wrote the song? Do you know?
I wrote these.
You wrote Sunny Side of Life again? Now, what's Armenier Records?
That's a label he had.
Ray Earl.
Yeah.
He owned that
Earl.
band. Yeah.
Yeah.
To Metropolis Records now. Yeah. How many records did you do? You don't have to get so far away there. I can ask you some questions too. How many records? How many records did you ever put out on Armenier label?
They had
we had two singles and that EP, didn't we?
First single was Someday Sweetheart You'll Be Crying. The flip side was Lucky Man. Second single was Wild Ford Breakdown and
Don't Leave Me Here Alone.
No. What Please Leave Me Here Alone? It was maybe it was.
Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah, Gospel was Gospel EP.
Were those all by the Barrier Brothers?
All by the Barriers with Gene Dykes.
Did you ever release any things by other groups at all?
Country.
Country and Western sort of stuff, yeah.
Some bluegrass. Most bluegrass we've worked with the Barrier Brothers.
Is that because were you in Indiana at that time?
Yeah.
Around, how long have you been up there for?
Oh, about 22, 23 years.
Mishawaka area.
Yeah. Were the rest of the brothers up there with you?
Yeah.
What kind of work did you do?
Well, I'm doing similar work, fabricating, steel place down there.
Steel place?
And my youngest brother and oldest brother, they work in Prince's home. It's prefabricating home. Prefabricating homes.
Did you move direct to Indiana from Mississippi?
No, Tennessee.
Or from Tennessee, I mean, yeah.
From Savannah.
But you came from there and you went right up, straight up to Indiana. You hadn't recorded in Mississippi except this one thing, maybe?
Just that one deal, yeah.
Who was that with?
We used to play on the radio some down there. I forget the name of the station.
Corinth, Mississippi?
Corinth?
Yeah, Corinth, Mississippi, yeah.
How old were you when you moved up about yourself?
How old was I?
Yeah.
About 26. Now,
your brothers are they both older than you?
No, one of them.
One each way.
One of them's the oldest and one's youngest.
Yeah.
Herman, the oldest.
I started my kid brother I started him on the guitar when he was about 11 years old. Me and him really got the thing started going,
And did you all move up about the same time?
Well, yeah, just about the same. Well, my oldest brother, he moved up, I don't know, it must have been a month or two later, but my youngest brother, he moved up about a week after I did.
Oh, that's pretty close.
My dad and them,
They had an invitation. Flew to Nashville to start in on the opera as a replacement when bulk of talent was out of town. And Herman moved down and
to Nashville.
Yeah. But if Ernie wants to tell you particulars of that, he can. His missus got hit by a car, and he had to stick around the doctor and the court proceedings on that. Someone ran a four-way stop sign and hit her.
We worked with the Wilburn brothers for about 3 years.
Pardon?
We worked with the Wilburn brothers for about 3 years, Teddy and Dawn.
Out of Wilhelm.
Out of Wilhelm.
Which ones have you worked with them? The whole group? You say you worked with the Wilburn brothers?
Yeah, down there. See, they was their,
on the same
their business agents then, I guess.
Did you work on the same show with them, or were you part of their group?
No, they was recording and they was taking care of,
They had work shows with them, but they didn't travel as a package.
Oh, we played shows, all them opera stars, but not the same show. We played on the show with them, you know what I mean?
What he's saying
is
that they were booking out of the
they was booking
agency.
They got a Will and him booking agency, see, and they was...
Did you mostly tour in the northern area, like Indiana, Ohio, and so forth? Or did you, if you toured and did shows with them, these other artists, was it usually in the sort of northern part of?
We never toured with them. We,
when they came to town.
Like,
Well, where would you go to do a show with them? Say?
Buckley Ranch.
Buckley Ranch, Mockingbird Hill.
Was that all around Indiana?
Yeah. Indiana was south of
when they came in, they'd have you be on the show with them. In other words.
Yeah.
But you never really went to a tour of Kentucky or Tennessee or something?
No, not with them, no.
How about on your own?
Oh, yeah, we've been down, we done a show down in Sand Mountain, Alabama, and one down in Pickwick, Tennessee, out in Pickwick there. And, oh, God, I can't name the places that we've done shows. We played over WCKY for about 6 months.
Uh-huh.
We was playing out of London, Ohio, but it was coming over WCKY.
New London.
New
London, yeah.
You never really toured as much as some of the groups.
No.
But, because were you keeping a regular job most of the whole time?
At that time, we had regular jobs pretty well, yeah.
Well, did you work for a period just as a musician without taking any other work?
No.
It was always something else.
They had worked up to that when they were invited to move to Nashville. Matter of fact, they were doing the opera now. Had it not been this car accident.
Who else did you? What's the name of that label in Mississippi? Do you know what?
No,
company's name?
That's just an individual.
Just a private thing that they did. So.
Did
you sell them over the air or at shows or something like that?
We just horsing around when we had that record cut.
The Camden's $4.
It was an individual. I don't know. I can't even remember. It's been so long ago. That's been a long time ago.
Ernest was telling me about it. He didn't even remember the name of the song.
Did you ever get a copy of the record?
I probably got that record back home someplace, but I don't know where it is. If I'm lucky, I might find it. I don't know if I could or not. I doubt it.
Then, are you familiar with their Phillips?
Phillips recordings. I wanted to ask how you got in touch with Phillips, or how they got in touch with you.
Well, on my understanding, they bought Mercury out. We had a contract with Mercury.
Mm-hmm.
We had a year's contract with a 2 years option on it. And we worked with them for 3 years. But my understanding, Phillips had bought them out. And they put it on the Phillips label.
No, that was stuff you'd recorded previously? You'd recorded it for release on Mercury, and then it really sort of came out on Phillips?
Well, Shelby Singleton had produced a session at Bradley's Barn in Nashville for Phillips. So he's a Mercury producer at that time, before he started.
So that was recorded at Bradley's Barn then?
What is now Columbia Bowl. Yeah, right.
Well, that's some good stuff. That's a lot of people. Of course, it doesn't have a picture of you on. I've only have one of those records myself.
Well,
actually, I've seen them both.
Them records would have went good, but I don't know. Them sales, Mercury, they was kind of a rock band back then.
Well, that's still where the big money is, I guess. I'll decide before it gets completely hot. How well did they sell? Do you have any indication?
No, they sold good when you could get them.
How did they pay you? As a flat fee or a royalty basis?
Percentage.
Mm-hmm.
Presently, we have the masters now. Metropolis.
Well, you ought to re-release at least an album.
We are. Tapes, albums, singles, the whole work.
Good, because that'll be a lot of people would like to get those. When you come out with them, make sure you send us a copy, and we'll order 25 or 50 of them from you right away. Because we distribute 2 stores, and we also sell direct at places like this and by mail. So you get a guaranteed sale there, I guess, in some portion of stuff.
How are your tapes doing?
We don't sell tapes. We get a lot of requests for them. We just don't sell them. I'm sure you'll sell a bunch of them.
Ernie and I were talking about maybe we better keep this under wraps till we discuss it some more. Maybe some ideas.
Do some new stuff.
Well,
that'd be
not
a good
really
idea.
new, but we got some ideas on it.
Right.
And do some old stuff with new ideas.
Well, cut it new. Yeah, that would be
old stuff with new ideas. That's what we're going
I think maybe we better stay quiet.
No, you should do it.
Everybody will jump on the bandwagon if it becomes a bandwagon.
Well, a lot of the old groups are recording again. We've done an album now by the Bailey Brothers, and we've done that Snuffy Jenkins and Pappy Sherrill one that you saw there. And we're re-recording a lot of the early groups. We'll probably try to do some stuff with Shannon Grayson and Whitey and Hogan. I don't know what it would be like because I haven't heard them play today. We'll try it for fun. I would think so. They're all in good health and good spirits. So. What kind of places did you play when you played around? You play at schoolhouses and stuff like that?
Yeah, some of it, and we played mostly these country parks.
You drive?
Yeah, I'm driving. Mostly these country parks, you know.
Park,
like Buck Lake Ranch, Mockingbird Hill, Columbus, Ohio, and London, Ohio, and I don't know how many. Well, we played. We done a show with Tex Ritter down at Franklin, Indiana.
Hillbilly Park.
Hey, Ernest, let's go do jam session.
Just a second, Larry. All these.
Have any Jim and Jesse at all?
All these country parks.
One or two.
Oh.
They're out there. Let's see, what year was that Armineer EP released in, the one that the song came from? Do you have any idea?
This was done in the late 50s.
Yeah, they're all
Late 50s sometime. How about the Phillips recordings? When were they done?
Possibly.
I wonder if they come in
through 60.
They're involved in the image.
Yeah, that's about, I was thinking around 63 is when I got mine. Haven't seen one since then, I don't think either. That's the trouble with those big companies. They put something out and it disappears in a year.
Well, that's the reason we decided to get back into it ourselves.
It's really the best way. And in the long run, you'll sell more copies too. I think. But we'll help you with distribution and county sales from New York. We'll take a bunch from you.
I know.
Jimmy Skinner Music Center.
We're
There is people. Yeah.
Matter of fact, you have a request for yours album.
I don't know about that
Skinner's?
one.
Yeah,
We've done shows with him now. Well, you know, on the same show.
You got an album out now, it's real good.
Excuse me, could I poke my head right in here for a second?
I reckon so.
It's on MCA, Adkins.
Get warm.
Yep. Sure is. Well, I don't know. I'm not thinking of all the usual questions that I have.
Well, catfish. So down in Tennessee is the catfish capital of the world, I guess.
Yeah, they got a worm for a radio station.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
You do a lot of fishing?
I used to, Dad, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, hunting, fishing, that's all I used to do before I left down there.
Picture on the old big catfish.
Yeah, I had one, about 15 pounds maybe. Yeah.
How much older is Herman than you?
5 years.
And how much younger is Ray?
Oh, God, I'm not
Ray's
reaching
35.
Ray's about 32, ain't he?
33 to 35. He told me reason for
So how much younger that
He
does
was
that
about
make
12
him?
years.
12 years younger? Oh,
I'm 48.
quite a span in there.
Yeah. Yeah, he's a baby. He's
What
young
did your
for that.
parents do? What kind of work?
They retired.
Well, what did they do when they were in Tennessee?
Oh, we used to farm, sawmill,
Mm-hmm.
you know. He come up here after I did, but he went to work at one of these prefab home deals. You know.
Yeah. So you were actually, when you started, if he's 12 years younger than you, when you started, you said you were about 26. Or when you came.
Well, when
when
we
he came
started
to the
professionally, you know.
So he was only 14.
No, he's about 11 when I started him on the guitar.
Oh.
But I mean, you know, we played about 3 or 4 years before we ever got out of the house, you know.
Yeah, sure.
Before we,
local radio.
actually, he was about 14, yeah, when we really started, you know, got out.
Yeah.
To do it.
That's kind of interesting because a lot of groups you find they're basically all the same age, and here you would have had one person 30, you 30, 31, your brother Herman.
Ray's about 32.
Well, no, I mean when you started, if you were about 26, and Herman was about 5 years older than you, he'd be around 30 or 31.
Right.
And then Ray would be about 14, which is he's twice as old as Ray. Old enough almost to be his father, you know.
Yeah, when we got started, yeah.
That is a little bit unusual as far as groups go.
Yeah.
You stayed in pretty close touch all this
Put a
time.
lot of work into him.
Yeah. Did Herman take up an instrument before you? He's not that much older than you.
Oh, yeah. Me and Herman used to play when we was young, you know. He played, I played guitar all the time. He played fiddle. Well, I played mandolin for about 12 years. He played guitar. Then he switched over on fiddle, and I switched over on guitar. We used to play for square dancing and things like that, you know.
Yeah, Uncle Herman's got
We
these,
played all of our life as far as that.
got these fingers out here. You hold a fiddle bowl like that.
I started playing.
Did he lose some of his fingers?
Pardon?
Did he lose some of his fingers? But it's on his bowing hand.
I started playing the guitar when I was 8-year-old. I'd steal his guitar down, you know. He ordered him a guitar from Spiegel or somewhere. Boy, he wouldn't let me touch it, you know. When he'd hide it, when he'd leave to go to work, you know, I'd sneak it down. He had a picture of Gene Alder on there making 3 chords, and that's how I got started playing the guitar.
Gene Alder.
Yeah. I learned
Hobo.
them 3 chords from Gene Alder, you know, his fingers on there. And one day Herman caught me with it, and he, you know, I was doing pretty good, you know. And then he got on the fiddle then.
Did your parents play any instruments?
They used to play a little bit.
Both of them?
Dad used to play fiddle. Excuse me. He used to play fiddle. All my grandpas and grandpapas and on all sides used to play music.
How about any of the women, like your mother or something?
No, they never did that. As far as I know, they never did do no playing.
Did they sing around the house and stuff like that?
Oh, they probably sang
Should probably be time with a pilot.
sang to themselves, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah,
When you first started playing, were you playing something that was like bluegrass? Or were you playing more old-time country songs?
It was old folk stuff, really. See, I used to try to play guitar like a banjo. I always loved a banjo, but I never did have one. And I used to take and tune a guitar down, you know, and play that thing like a banjo, you know.
Who were some of the groups that inspired you, or that you heard that you liked?
Well, I used to listen. There used to be an old guy lived down there, an old sawmill man. His name was Jim Dunnigan.
Dunnigan?
Dunnigan.
How do you spell that? Like D-O-N?
D-U-N-E-G-A-N, possibly.
I think so, yeah.
Dunnigan, yeah.
But he played clawhammer style. Boy, that sounds sweet to me. And I used to listen to Uncle Dave Meekin.
Yeah.
And that really sounded good to me.
Can you play that style yourself?
No, I never could play clawhammer. I've had my daddy-in-law try to show me how to play clawhammer, but I never could play it. Oh, I might hit a few notes of it, but not really what you call clawhammer.
So when you started playing banjo, you really started with the bluegrass style or Scruggs style.
Yeah.
Had you heard Scruggs on the Opry or places like that?
Not when I started, but I heard him afterwards, and I mean that enthused me too. I mean, you know.
Had you sort of picked up a 3-finger style on your own before you heard him then?
Before I ever heard Scruggs.
I think probably his style was influenced by his friend there at home.
Dunnigan?
Yes,
Yeah.
so he'd have some remarks that he does something just a little different. You know.
Yeah, I began to pick up. I mean, you know, I picked up the 3-finger style before I ever heard of Scruggs, but it was a guitar. I mean, you know, I didn't have no banjo. But like I say, I'd tune it down and play it like a banjo.
What's your record?
But I never really tried to perfect it, or I mean, you know, really put anything in it till I must have been 26 or 27 years old. You know, really get down to earth with it's what I call it. And I started Ray on the guitar when he was 11, and started teaching him to play the guitar and teaching him to sing lead. And his voice is changing on him, you know. Along when he began to hit 14, I'd have to sing lead and come to the chorus. I'd let him sing the chorus, and I'd switch over and tenor, you know. And that's about the way we got her started. I think a lot of it's gifted, though. I think we inherited a lot of it.
Yeah.
We're all on our dad's side, mother's sides, and all of them. They played music, you know. Not like they play today, but back them days they wasn't bad.
What do you think about the way that some of it's going today?
I don't know. I think it's good. I don't know.
I don't.
You don't.
I mean, what they call
bluegrass stuff.
What they call this newgrass. I suppose, you know, it's valid as a musical
I think they're
form.
putting just a little bit. Now this is my opinion. I think I like this progressive stuff, but I think they're putting just a little too much of it in there.
Yeah.
I still like that good old down there straight picking, smooth picking.
I think one thing that really identifies the Barrier Brothers and such is the Barrier Brothers and their singing and the way they work their instruments together.
Yeah, I mean, that's really straight classic.
Now we've got a different
bluegrass to me.
style. We've got a different style actually. You don't have a match on you, would you?
No.
We got
actually, I got a cigarette in here.
We got a different style.
See if it works.
Of picking and singing than what Lester Flatt and these, a lot of these other guys got. We got a different beat. It's still bluegrass, but we got a different beat to it.
I think the drive into it.
Yeah.
I picked up a guitar.
A little more.
I played bluegrass until a kid.
A little more drive to it, and it's just, I don't know.
Well, I picked up the guitar and tried to do what Ray does, and I just can't touch it. I mean, it's, just a certain drive to get into it. In other words, they look around when I'm trying to play with and say, who's driving?
They had an interview of us down there at Nashville, and my sister-in-law was listening to this interview, and they was talking about different groups of bluegrass, like some of them, being the same, staying the same, and they said, well, now the Barrier Brothers has changed it, It's changed it a little. But they are something, they are something different about our style. Like I say, it's I think we've got a little bit more of a drive to it, and it's a little bit different rhythm, but it's still,
How often do you play today? How often do you play today?
Oh, not too often here lately. I've been hitting a lot of these bluegrass festivals,
Just to pick and jam and something.
Yeah, just picking around.
But do you and your brothers get together still?
Oh, every once in a while, not too often anymore. I think we're fixing to get back together, though, right?
We're putting some stuff.
We're in the process of it, anyway.
But up to now, in the last 7 or 8 years, it's been you'd see each other just a couple times a year or something like that for playing together.
Something like that, yeah. Oh, well, me and my brother, we got together a lot more now.
Yeah, big jam sessions.
Yeah.
They live close to there.
Yeah.
I was learning at Granger, Indiana, Ray, and
we all live around there in spitting distance of each other,
So maybe a little more frequently than twice a year, anyhow. Just for fun, you get together and play. So, had you done, say, before a year or so ago, had you done occasional shows around the area?
Yeah, after we and my brother busted up there, I had a group of my own. We done quite a few shows around here.
What was the name of it?
We still had Ernie Barrier.
Did you have a group?
Country Travelers.
Country Travelers,
yeah.
Would you like to be known as Ernie? Would you like to be known as Ernie more than Ernest?
It don't matter to me. Everybody called me Ernie. Back south, they called me Ernest. But up here, everybody called me Ernie, and that's the way it goes again.
Well, I can't think of much else, really. How to get out there and start some picking, I guess.
Ray sings bluegrass, where he does a real good job on straight country. And he likes both. He turns an easier dollar locally, I suppose, with country,
Yeah.
But Ray is still interested in bluegrass very much so.
It's picking up again. If you could get out one of those Phillips albums, or even two of them on Metropolis, I think, you sell a few of them, and it's not going to make you rich, but
yeah,
points in that direction, anyhow.
These festivals are helping bluegrass music, and I think Buck Owens, he started doing some of it there. I think that helped it.
Yeah, Dolly Parton and Porter Wagoner, some of their things are kind of close.
That helped it.
They should do a whole bluegrass album someday. And then they're doing banjos and stuff. I didn't like it much, but
I like all kinds of music myself. I don't deny it. I like all of it. But there's just something about this bluegrass that's got a feeling to it that I just, it just makes you want to get in there and pick,
Yeah. Well, when we get this record out, we'll be sending you, copies of it and stuff, just so you can see what we did with it. I'll send you a list of. I'll write up something from this tape that's been going on here for a while. Still moving along, I guess. And you can look at it for corrections and see if I say anything that seems to misrepresent you or something like that, just so you know that it's not inaccurate.
I don't think we said anything misrepresented.
Well, I might make a mistake. I might say that you were that you were 2 years old when you recorded, because I might forget the 6 or something like that. I don't know. We just like to check, make sure that people are happy with the way we've written it. Some of these things here. Which did you record first, the Acme or the one on Lucky Records?
The Acme label was first.
Can you remember who played the instruments, mandolin?
I would have to think on that. That's been quite a while ago. But I think that Federal Ride of Elkhorn City played mandolin on that. I'm almost sure he did.
Well, you have the record right there, somebody.
And there was a banjo player from Martin, Kentucky. I don't recall his name now, but he did have a nickname that I think they called him Red Onion.
Red Onion?
Red Onion. That was his nickname. And
guitar was you?
I think Casey Jones was the fiddler on that from down around Columbia, Kentucky. And I know he was on some of them, but I'm not sure about
there
that
doesn't seem to be a fiddle on that one.
Yeah.
How about, did you play the guitar?
I was playing lead guitar and rhythm on this, and Blake Stiltner from Elkhorn City was playing bass.
Stiltner?
And Red Rattler played mandolin on, just going back to old Kentucky now. I've got this all mixed up, I'm sure.
Okay, now next one it was Red Rattler?
Yeah, going back to old Kentucky, it was Red Rattler on mandolin. And a boy called Red Onion as a nickname, this is as far back as I can remember, on the banjo. I played lead and rhythm guitar together on that.
What did you do? How did you do that?
And, well, it's a style, I guess, that I picked up when I took off, playing by myself. I usually play lead, and then the bass would cover it, and the other instruments as a backup kind of.
Yeah.
I played a double stroke guitar. I played lead with a rhythm stroke with it at the time. And,
about when was that recorded?
That was recorded in 1945, I'm almost sure.
Yeah, it's pretty early. And you started recording with that other one that you just played there back around 44, just after you came out of the service.
My Girl of Kentucky is the first release that I come out with, although I'd written several songs before then, and played mostly for birthday parties and things like that, outings.
How old were you about the time that you came out of the service?
Well, I was 24, I think, when I come out of service, and I started writing songs about 44 and 45, and I still write songs. Today I do mostly all gospel songs. Today I don't write any unless it's arranging for someone. I do love to help people, because as I was telling you some time ago there, that when we started making these records, it cost us $1 a piece. I have 3 labels myself now in the publishing firm. And I like to help young people starting out. I don't give them any wrong lines nowhere.
When you say it cost you $1 each,
$1 each, and you furnish your band, your transportation.
Now, you had to pay the record company $1 to get them?
We paid $1 a piece to get started on the first, and then we got a contract.
How many did you buy at $1 a piece?
Well, we'd buy a couple hundred, something like that.
So
and put them on a radio station.
What you'd have to...
Just to get started.
You'd go around and take them to the radio stations and
the
give them a
label
copy.
had promised us that they would promote these records.
Was this Spurlock at the time?
But it...
on Acme, was this...
Reverend Spurlock, as I recall. And but I'm sure, as being a minister now myself, I can see that the man didn't have proper time, to get out and really push the record. I couldn't at that time, I couldn't see why. I had won 4 Little Words, which was... #1 locally in the mountain sections of eastern Kentucky.
What area was that in? Where was Acme located at that time?
Acme was located in Columbia and Jamestown,
Kentucky.
Yeah, at the time I recorded with them.
And where were you living at that time?
I was living at Millard, Kentucky, just out of Pikeville.
Yeah.
Just south of Pikeville.
Is that where you grew up, pretty much?
And, I grew up at Regina, Kentucky. Or Regina, whichever you prefer.
What county is that?
That's Pike County.
Right in Pike County.
Now that joins the Virginia and West Virginia border.
Yeah.
Also Tennessee. That's right down in the neck of the wood, in other words. And I really enjoy talking about this and discussing it, and I'm very interested in young people that are taking an interest, as they are today, in folk music. I've always loved it, and I think it's the only kind of music is down-to-earth country music. Now, as far as I'm concerned, this is my opinion of it. They've gone to the extreme on mixing this with pop, with brass, and so forth. In my opinion, that anymore it's really not country music as it used to be. And I don't record anything like that.
Yeah. This is the stuff I like.
And I do help people in any way that I can. If they would like to contact me, as we have in our literature, we only deal one way, and that's honestly. We give an honest opinion to the best of our ability, whether something's commercial or not, or whether it's not. And if it is, then we help them and we push them. And if it is not, then if they want to try it anyway and take a chance on it, and in our opinion, it is not commercial material. If they want to do it, we'll still do it. At just studio time only. That's all we make on it.
Where's your studio? Do you have a studio here?
We have. With all the churches and record them and work with them. And I'm a minister in the Old Regular Baptist of Jesus Christ, which goes way back. You know, it's one of the older churches.
Now, most of the old regular churches won't allow music
which
in
came
the
over. They don't.
So you just sing?
They don't.
You'll sing?
So we just, I do a lot of lead singing in the church, and this was awful hard for me to get used to, although I had done it as a boy. I was raised with it.
You were
being
raised
used to playing
radio.
music and then dropping back here without anything to go by, you see. And no chord or key or anything. Not even the pitch pipe, you see. You just have to reach out and start it. And then they line it, as they did when it came over from Scotland. Back in those days, they only had a few people that could read, you know, enough to line a song. So they'd line it, and the others would fall in and follow them on this. I just recently, the other day, recorded one of the Old Baptist singing with no music. I done 3-part harmony on it, 2 songs. And they've been asking for this. The radio station DJs have been asking for some of this type of music.
When you were in Kentucky last night, you said you were down in Kentucky. How far down do you go?
This was in Florence, Kentucky, just across the river here. We was in service over there. An old brother in the church had a stroke. He wanted us to come over and have service for him. So we do that when people are sick. They call us. We go out and have service in their home for them if they want us to.
So that's what you did.
And in '67, we were done quite a lot of work in the early '60s with the Adco label, and we now have the Lucky label, and we also have the Ace label, and we are using the Ace and Lucky label. Nothing goes on Adco anymore. As I think it was maybe '66 that I put this in the billboard. As of that date, there would be nothing else other than gospel go on the Adco label. But we did have the other labels we purchased to put country on, and folk. I don't know anything else that you would like to discuss. Well, I'd be glad to in any way I could, or if
let me ask you specifically about this. This was on the Lucky label here. You didn't own it at that time, right?
No.
That was owned by Jim Stanton? Do you know, did you record that for Jim Stanton at Richard?
Oh, no. I never had nothing to do with Jim Stanton. I started to, and the man didn't even meet me. He was supposed to meet me. I like to lay things on the line. This is how come me to go on down and record this for Acme.
Well, That because you never met up.
Because Stanton didn't show up at Corbin, Kentucky. He was supposed to be there. See, we had to do these things at a radio station with one microphone back in those days. We now have 12, 16, and some people 24 and 36 microphones.
So we
use 8 and 12 here, you know.
Who ran the Lucky label? Was that you that ran it at that time?
It was owned by a firm in New York at that time.
That's the first record they put out, I guess.
Yeah. And no, I don't think that was.
Maybe they had a country series. It's
that
2001.
was probably 2000 series.
Yeah. Now, how late was that recorded?
That was in 45, I believe.
Just almost exactly the same time.
Don't quote me. Don't let me quote this as being exact because it's been quite a while.
But it was definitely in the middle 1940s.
Yeah, it was in the mid 40s. I know I'd just gotten out of service, and I was married in 44. Richard Tone, the Stanley Brothers. As I recall, at that time, the Stanley Brothers started with Richard Tone, which was Mr. Stanton. And I see you have Pebble right here now. This is one of the boys that played on some of the Acme records that we recorded.
Do you know who played the mandolin on the Lucky record?
Red Ratliff played mandolin on that. He also done the tenor on it. And Ray Goins played the banjo.
Oh, yeah?
Ray Klein of the Lonesome Fine Fiddlers played fiddle on it. And Ezra Klein played bass, as I recall.
And was there an electric guitar on that one?
And there was electric guitar. And I noticed a little later that this was done by Bobby Hamilton, a young boy that we were trying to help get started. He was awful faithful. You know, back then when you would get a young boy and break him in and get him started, he seemed to let it go to his head quite a bit. This is something that musicians should never do. They shouldn't get too good because there's always someone just a little bit better. But I'd rather have a medium, average man and have a faithful man if I had a band again than I would to have a real good one and have to bag to him and have no dependability upon him, see.
And these Kentucky pals that were most of the Lonesome Pine
That's
Fiddlers
local
later.
boys. Red Ratliff and some of the boys that worked with me for years, they're now in Chicago. And Cuddles Newsom helped me do some songs later, Another Night, which the Stanley Brothers also recorded. They take the Kentucky School Bus that was recorded for Star Day later on in the late 50s, I guess. This was done by the Stanley Brothers, There's No School Bus in Heaven, which made #1 in the charts. Ours, I think, made about #4, but I never did see any results of any royalties. So I sent a letter, a registered letter, to the Star Day Company, and broke the contract, and they accepted it. They accepted the registered letter. I broke the master contract with them, and that was in '59. And I started the Adco label here then.
Is that one of the reasons you started your own label?
Yeah, that's why, because BMI, I was a co-writer, and I was getting quite a lot of royalty BMI performances and no record royalty. And we do know that when records are up in the charts and going, then they are selling. But there's no results from the company. Although I have to say this about Don Pierce, that he was a great help in promoting the bluegrass music in those days. But money-wise, I never did get too much out of it.
Yeah, I think it's surprising to me that you paid so much for these Acme records.
Yeah, back in that day, now
it was sort of like a custom
see, which
job
now
almost.
I can cut a group an album for $1 a piece, studio time and all. And that was way back in the mid-40s, and they were charging us $1 a piece for the old 78s.
Well, Scroll Rock must have been making a lot of money off of you then.
Well, I don't know who made
because
it.
The pressing doesn't cost that much. The pressings used to cost around 17 cents or so.
Oh yeah, they were. I think. Well, you can get them at some places. Some pressing plants now you can get records pressed for 17. It depends on the quantity you order. See.
So he must have been making quite a bit of money there.
But there's one farm here in Cincinnati that used to do their processing, that still has a processing plant in this area.
Queen City?
Which is full fidelity. And the only problem anymore with processing plants is that you send a tape that's really clear, you cut a master tape and you send it in, and they throw so much bass on it.
Depends where you
that they take it down 4 or 5 decibels, you know, and they think they're taking it down, and actually they're just taking the quality away from the record.
It depends what pressing plant you use.
Yeah, I have studied electronics, and I had 2 heart attacks in '67. I've had 9. I've had 7 since that. And it wouldn't do me any good, you know, but I do wish that the processors, anyone that might listen to this, or anyone that you might talk to in this, that they would try to get the exact sound that is on the tape, because that's what people want when they work and rehearse and get a song or an album, or for that matter, and they get it the way they want it. They work hard to get this song, get the sound they want on it. And then you send it to a processing plant, and they just cover it up with bass or something. It looks bad on everybody.
Yeah.
It looks bad on the artist, on the recording firm that does the master tape. Right now, on our prices, and we hire our pressing done, we do them cheaper, and we do have good equipment. We have Ampex, and, TX, Sonys, and which I have found to be quite sufficient this day and age. And we've used Contratone, Magnacord, just about any name make. We have used them. We've tried them quite a bit, and we use a recorder that gets the best sound, the best fidelity. And
who played the electric guitar there?
Bobby Hamilton played.
Oh, he was the one that played the electric guitar.
Yeah, he now lives in Hamilton, Ohio.
They named it after
as I understand.
What was the financial deal with Lucky Records?
Well, Lucky was a regular straight deal, straight royalty deal, 4 cents per record.
They recorded you, and then they paid you.
But the same thing happened there that happened on Star Day.
They stopped.
And some of the other labels. I don't mean.
Did they ever pay you anything, or did they start for a while and then just stop after a while?
They're just a few dollars, and I never would. I always felt backwards about taking my records on shows and trying to sell them. I never did, and during the time I played. Another thing I never did enjoy, I tried it 2 or 3 times, playing bar rooms, places like this. And I think 2 nights done me in this field.
What happened?
I worked at Akron High, and as I recall, the Ratliff boy I was speaking of was playing mandolin, and Bill Lowe from Pikeville, Kentucky was another boy that started working with me. And you may recall Charlie Justice that worked with George Jones on the fiddle. I used to let that boy sit in with me on square dances years ago when he first started in the music field. But I would like to put in, if I might, a guy that I have met in the country music field. This is my honest opinion, and it's truth, that I never met the man, but what he was real kind to me when I was trying to get started. His name is Mr. Ernest Tubb, and I think that country music owes quite a bit to that man. I've been on his show several times, on the Opry, on the Midnight Jamboree, and I think the entire Country Music Association, they owe so much to this man, because I have never met him, but what he had time to talk with you. discuss things, speak with you. He never was one that would run off and leave you or something. Marty Robbins was a wonderful man. I met Marty one night when I went to the Opry, and I don't want to say anything about anybody. Another gentleman had been on my show on the radio, and he told me when I come to the Opry, he said, "You come to the back door and call for me." This I did, and he come out and spoke to me, but he didn't invite me in. Marty Robbins saw this, and he knew the man's personality.
Yeah.
I assume. So he come out and he said, "This boy's all right." He knew that the other guy knew me, see. And so he took me in. He introduced me to about all the Opry stars at that time. I already knew Hawkshaw Hawkins. The fact is, I wrote a song about those people, which was recorded on our label by a little 12-year-old girl from Fort Lauderdale, Florida. Debbie Everts was released, and she had a song that I wrote about John F. Kennedy, which was entitled "A Mighty Man." That was published by the Starday Music Company, or Tronic Music, that they owned at that time. It was just before I got my license. And I also have a letter from the White House from President Johnson on this song. I sent him one of my own versions, just guitar and vocal. And I had quite a compliment from President Johnson, the late president, on this, telling me how grateful he was that people would take interest, to sit down and write a song about a leader of our country.
Do you ever play guitar anymore now?
Oh, yeah.
No,
I have.
You wouldn't play it in church, but...
I have, well, it's
where
just...
would you play it?
I play it at home. I write gospel songs. I play my guitar when I feel like I want to play it. I don't play it as often as I used to, but if I get a good gospel ideal for a song in my mind, I take my guitar, sit down, and I write it. I put it on tape, I record it.
How about
I'm still recording
do you play
in.
shows at all?
I don't do any work like that on the road anymore. I haven't.
You used to go on the road.
I would if it was a gospel show. I would. I definitely would.
How about in this time? Because these weren't gospel tunes. These weren't gospel tunes.
No, not country. I wouldn't.
I
will help
used to do
anyone.
that.
I will help anyone any way I can with it. Because I know they have a hard time. And if you're making a living, I don't care what occupation it is, a lot of times you need help. I didn't get this help when I was a kid. Everyone said I was really good, but no one offered to get out and give me a boost or give me a push in that day. And this is the thing that I like to talk about, is helping them when they need help, when they're young, when they can get started and get rolling with these things. That's when people should help them. If you see somebody that has talent, I give them a boost. And you'll never regret it. But now...
We enjoy doing that too. We have a record company, and we have a lot of people that come by, and we try to help
my Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ, comes first with me. Then my fellow man comes, my family and my fellow man, and my brothers and sisters in Christ. And I am not one that follows after denominations, because every child of God is born into the one body of Jesus Christ. And therefore they ought to love one another as He has commanded them to do. A lot of people, they differ because they belong to a different church, the visible church. But the invisible church is Jesus Christ, and it's into the one body that they're born. Therefore they ought to help one another, they ought to love one another in any way they can. This is the full duty of man, to his duty to God. And these are things I like to dwell on, that if we do unto others as we would have them do unto us, let us try to just do just a little bit better unto them than we'd have them do unto us. And we'll get along. We'll have love worldwide.
It'll be a great day. How did you ever get the name Hobo Jack?
That was given me by a station manager some years ago, and I think it was over in. I used to roam around. I was raised an orphan boy in the hills of Kentucky. I never knew my dad. I never knew but one of my granddads. I never knew either one of my grandmothers. And so, you know, I've often wondered what it would be to have, to know your own father, to know him. But this is something that's happened to so many people, and it's something that I always try, in the best way I know how, although I am totally disabled as far as, you know, getting out and really pushing in these things like I would like to, is to help orphan children and things like this. Any time that I could be a part in any thing that would help little orphan children, I would gladly do it. For in our day, it was rough.
How were you
We
raised?
used to hoe, my mother and I, until she died when I was 16. We raised our own corn on the hillside farm and dug it out with a hoe or a mattock. And I have saw people pass by with their mules and plows and so forth in those days, and they would during the Depression, you know, it was really rough back in that time. They would pass by and us digging up our garden with a mattock, and wouldn't even take the time to stop and plow her garden for her. She died at 58. And I was 16 years old at the time that Mom died. I miss her quite a bit, but I plan one of these days to see her again and to see my dad. And things were rough then, but there's no use crying about it. But I do tell young people today they should be so thankful for many things that God has granted unto them. And they have so much more today than they had back in those days.
What kind of music?
We had nothing. It was a bar of candy was really something at Christmas,
yeah.
Or an orange. We had apples that we stowed away, you know, put away in the cellar or something for winter, and sometimes they would keep till Christmas. But other than that, if we hadn't had our own apples and oranges or something, we very seldom ever got any. Like the kids have today, a lot of toys. We use little rocks in the ground for our toy cars. And kids should be awful thankful today that they have as much as they do. And the parents should be thankful. And the younger people that are coming up today.
I'd like to get some idea about, well, I didn't really get the idea. Somebody, was it a Pikeville radio station manager that gave you the name?
No, this was in West Virginia. Now, you was talking about the guitar a while ago. I have a guitar that quite a lot of people is interested in. It's one of the older Martins. Hank Williams, I think, had one of them. Jimmy Orsman had one of them. There was only eight of them made in this series. And I was fortunate enough to see an ad in the paper. And there was no phone number after I moved here. So I went over and I exchanged the J200 Gibson for this old Martin. And this guitar goes back to the establishment of the WCKY radio here in Cincinnati, which was established at Mount Orba High at that time, as the man told me, Mr. Williams. And I purchased this guitar from him. I gave him $100 between it and the Gibson. And you know, my wife, she couldn't understand that because it looks so bad, but it don't look too bad when I'll show it to you a little later. And I don't think it's the only guitar I've ever had that would ring up with a 5-string banjo.
What the model number is it? What series?
This is a D28 series, and it's one of the 1400 series. I have the serial number down somewhere, but I don't know exactly where it's at now. But he's one of 8. Hank Williams had one. I think Hank Snow, if I'm not badly mistaken, had one of them. And Jimmy Orsman had one. Whatever become of it, I don't know. And I have one, and I don't know about the rest of them. I can account for about 4 or 5 of them, but the others I can't.
Why did this guy call you Hobo Jack?
Well, because I rambled as a kid. I was raised an orphan boy, you know, and I hitchhiked, and I hoboed, and I traveled away, yeah, and a little before, you know, she did. I'd get reckless and do this. I regret this now, but I did do it from the age of 12 and on.
You looked for work, or?
And a cousin of mine and myself, we used to get out, and he could play the guitar a little bit, and I guess, started around 12 or 13 years old, actually getting out hitchhiking and going. I remember one time that I was in Ashland, Kentucky, and I'd done the Browns Ferry Blues, which the Delmore brothers had out at that time. And I'd done it in about 5 or 6 different positions. And this was back during the hard times. It was back in the 30s. I done this at Ashland County, Boyd County, Kentucky, at the county fair, and won $5, which was first prize, out of a category about 50 people, I guess, and bands, groups, you know. But I played and sang this song, the Browns Ferry Blues, and won $5. That was really something in those days, you know.
Did your cousin play with you there on that?
Yeah, he helped me. He would help me. He was more backward, though, you know. He could only get a few chords. And well, I didn't know too many myself, still don't, as far as that's concerned. But we pick these things up. It's a gift of God, and we should be thankful for it. And I am. I'm very thankful.
What was your cousin's name?
Coleman, Billy Coleman. He now lives in Dayton.
Coleman.
Dayton.
What did you do? You traveled. You hitchhiked around with the guitars.
Yeah, and later on, then I was also in 3 sea camps in '39. I stayed 6 months in there, and I came out and I worked at 17 out in the coal mines. They've done an article on one of the songs we have published, which was written by a DJ down in Pike County, Kentucky, Mr. Mike Paxton. He wrote this 30-inch coal, and I think maybe some of the boys, maybe Melvin and Ray, or some of them, maybe Curly Ray Klein, I don't know just who helped him with this, but I did do it after I went in the church. I did this one song, 30-inch coal. Now, they called me the other day from Washington, since you called.
Since I called.
They called me, and they want this to go in the National Geographic Arts Society, which will be televised nationwide, and they're done, I think, 55 seconds to a minute and 55 seconds of this song from this record. And I told Mike that I would do it if he'd let me change one line in it to make it inspirational. And we recorded this, and we had quite a good success with it. And so things have not been too bad all the way down the line, and they seem to be getting better as we go along, and as I put my labor in for God, seem like I'm more blessed, and people know that I do. I'm truthful with them, and I'm honest with them. And I think if everybody would be like this, the world would be a wonderful place to live in. It's horrible right now, you know. Our country's in an uproar from one end to the other. But these old folk songs that we're talking about, they tell a story. When I wrote a song, when I started writing songs and I had the inspiration to write a song, I sat on the mountain peaks and the breaks of the interstate parks, which is down in Kentucky. And I took scenes. I looked around me and took scenes and wrote a love song from that. And I hummed and got my melody for it. and it's called The Breaks of the Sandy. I never did record it. I still have it. But it's a beautiful story, and it tells about everything in that area, and it's combined with a love ballad.
Who were some of the musicians that you liked? I guess you liked the Delmore Brothers and Charlie Monroe.
Yeah, I did very much. I loved the Delmore Brothers. As I was a kid, I recall years ago when the old battery radio first come out that I used to go, I'd walk 4 or 5 miles up this creek and holler, whatever you want to call it, and in order to get to listen to the radio on Saturday night and listen to the Grand Ole Opry. And some of the boys started ordering guitars. Now, when I first got my guitar, this is something I like to tell boys today how fortunate they are. That I had a squirrel dog at that time, and I traded this dog in order to get me a guitar. I traded it to a rifle. I in turn then traded this .22 rifle, which was an old Marlin, and a bushel of shelled corn for the first guitar that I ever owned. And the boys, they had ordered, that was more fortunate than I was. They had dads, to buy these for them. And but they did let me use their chord books, to learn the chords. And I had an older brother that played the guitar a little at that time, and he knew a few chords, and I'd watch him when he'd come around. So within, I guess it was a gift of God that I was talented with that I picked it up. And the boys that started in this, I still know where they're at, and I won't call their names. They've never gone anywhere. I haven't gone far either. But I thank God for the talent.
When you played on the Lucky record, you played with, you said Curly Ray Khan and Ray Gorns and Ezra Clark.
Yeah, man. Curly Ray also helped me. He also helped me on some Starday releases that I had. Lonesome Old Road, Just Wishing. He helped me on Ace recording I had, which was Big Sandy River. This record, I had a check from BMI the other day on it for $2,500 performance royalty. And I didn't even know the song had been released in England, you see. And, well, this has been about a year ago. And it was published by Tree Publishing Company.
Who did it?
A very large firm. And this was pressed in Nashville. And I don't know who got a hold of that or what happened, or whether they put it on another label or not, or whether they just used the song. This I haven't found out.